Achoo. Goopa loopa. Gunda. Yup, yup. Maratuto. Goba Fingowa. Goopa loopa. Hoto Ostoga.
What's up, everybody? It's Wes, Hank, and Andy. Welcome back. It's Sunday night, and of course, that means it's another Tale from the Moon of Fandor. This one, the penultimate episode of season 1. This one is called Blue Harvest. We alluded to that last week. We were going to talk a little bit more about that, which we will right after. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I've screwed that up.
There we go. Time for another one of those.
Right after one of those. Oh.
Anticlimactic jokes.
Turn the volume up. There we go. Try it again. Right after we have one of those.
Bad Star Wars jokes.
Yes, use take 3.
That's the stuff.
Much better.
Listen, if I were a stand-up comedian, this would be much easier because my lead-in would be just so much smoother. I wouldn't have to use the bad joke sounder.
I used to want to be a stand-up comedian when I was younger.
Sure.
Everybody kept laughing at me.
This feels weird. What's going on here? Let me try something.
There you go.
That's better. That feels more natural. Is it the 3 years worth of podcasting that's ingrained that in me?
I don't know.
Maybe. It could be Gaz whispering in your ear too.
No Gaz whispers though tonight.
Not yet.
I presume he's elsewhere somewhere tonight. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we've been doing this now for this is oh my gosh, this one is episode 12. That means we've been doing this for 12 weeks.
That's right.
I was talking to my wife the other night about the show, about Ewoks, and she said to me, I always thought that Chewbacca was an Ewok.
Oh.
And I said to her, no. I corrected her. And I told her, that's okay, honey. It's a Wookiee mistake.
Oh, you had me, man, because I thought you were telling a story.
Right? Like it was good. If I didn't have the joke lead in.
Sold it. I was thinking to myself, that doesn't sound like Kim, though.
Kim knows.
Wookiee mistake.
That's awesome.
Which on some level is kind of true because we all know that Lucas wanted to have
Wookiees
in Return of the Jedi.
That's honestly where I thought your story was going.
Well, it kind of ties in with this week's episode title in a roundabout way. I said we'd talk about it this week, and it's funny. Blue Harvest, if you don't already know, was the secret working title for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So secret that we knew what it was
for a couple of reasons.
In 1983, before the internet.
So most of the filming was done at Pinewood in England, right?
Yeah.
Like the other two, but a lot of the Endor stuff was done in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco Redwoods.
Exactly. So by the time it came around to filming that stuff, they had already wrapped up at Pinewood. We were transferring back to the US to finish this movie. A couple reasons that they did that. One, again, to keep it secret, but then the other one was to combat inflation. And so movies do this, right? When you make a movie, you are essentially creating a small company for the duration of your movie.
100%.
And I can think of a very infamous example of where artificial inflation ruined a movie. That, of course, is Highlander 2.
I mean, it's very true. The very robust film industry in Nova Scotia here completely was gutted overnight when the province decided to stop funding it in some way or another.
That's awful.
And the industry, the dead stop, jump ship. People like there's a season of Trailer Park Boys that's in Europe. There's a season of Trailer Park Boys
Right.
that's in the States, and that's not coincidental. But it's starting to return. I think that they've got more. But you're 100% right that that can completely happen.
There's an interview, and it may actually be on one of the DVD commentaries of Russell Mulcahy, the director of Highlander, talking about how bad, because they filmed it somewhere like Eastern Europe where like the economy was like super, super cheap, right? But like the production company, when they came to town and they figured out, oh, it's a movie, they raised the local economy so much, so fast that they couldn't afford to film the movie the way that they wanted to, and they just ran out of money. He made some kind of like off the cuff remark about like going out for a meal when they got there was something like $15 a plate or something, but by the time they left, it was like exponentially more. They just couldn't afford to finish. Not the case with Return of the Jedi, though.
There's an episode of The Simpsons about that, isn't there?
You got me on that. I'm
Where
so out
they're
of
like,
touch.
well, oh, now there's a tax for puffy directing pants.
Right. I mean, there's convenience stores here have local prices and tourist prices for sure. I've seen them gouge tourists on cigarettes.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is based on the I've never seen you before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, well, there are so many obvious tourists. It's funny to see it in
well,
why are
that's
you coming to
true.
Halifax, but there's a ton.
That's true.
It's a
I
cruise
mean,
ship stop. So
I was gonna say, anytime you go down to the waterfront and take a walk past the Cow's ice cream shack, it's fairly obvious.
Yeah.
Not so much here. Where I mean, we do have our fair share of tourism here in the landlocked central Ontario.
Cottagers.
But yeah, I don't think we've ever had a movie do anything to the local economy. Well, that's not necessarily true. We have had some local productions that certainly generated interest in those communities. Certainly the stuff that we went to see earlier this year, in terms of like the It stuff and the Welcome to Derry. Like certainly the locals all like sort of like to get involved, and everybody likes to looky-loo.
Even better if you get a walk-on roll.
I would be curious to know though, because like Andy, you and I visited some we visited the bookstore. The bookstore, little kitschy mom and pop bookstore on the main street of Port Hope. They were open for business that day.
Yeah.
Outside of like takes, you could go in. Now the funny thing is, the set people have already dressed the front of the store to look period appropriate, and the bookstore was not a bookstore. It was
like a hobby shop.
Yeah, they had like plastic model kits and stuff. So from the outside on the sidewalk, it's like, oh, hobby store. But you open the door and there's a false wall on the door that swings open with the door, and now you're in the bookstore.
Yeah.
I would like to know, if I owned a business wherever productions are being made, what does that mean for me to dress up my...
Oh, there was compensation.
Of course there would. Of course.
Yeah, they pay you for your day. They probably ask you something like, what would you make in the run of a day or the run of a week or whatever.
Right.
I like a house that I'm refurbishing right now used to belong to the owner of the company I work for. He they basically had a movie they filmed down the street on by Point Pleasant Park here in Halifax, the hoity-toity area.
Yep.
And they in the middle of July they turned a house that was like about the founder of Hallmark. They turned a house into Christmas in the middle of July in Halifax, and then they rented this gentleman's house that I'm refurbishing now as their staging area. They prepared meals there. They did their they had their offices there, and then just a few houses down the street, they rented that home to turn the front of it into winter.
Wow.
So yes, there's absolutely compensation. I can attest to that.
We're getting into the season now where if you're a fan of the Hallmark Channel, or what is it, the Women's Network, like all of those like Christmas movies are about to like start up.
That's right.
And like the number of them that are filmed in like
it's
the
hilarious.
middle of July, and like how uncomfortable is it? Here, put on this puffy coat in July.
Driving to work, you see the snow before you see the movie trucks. Like,
Yeah,
and you're like, wait a minute,
what is going on?
And then there's candy canes everywhere, and it's like, it's pretty cool what they can do in a short term.
I like Christmas, and I know that certainly there's parts of Ontario here. I'm thinking of Santa's Village where it's Christmas all year round. So
Yeah.
some people out there would like that. Oh, Kay's here. She wants us to know those movies, they have already started.
They started back in July.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
my.
true.
Hallmark runs Christmas in July.
Oh, of course they do. I'm sure somewhere there's a streamer out there that's all Christmas all the time.
Probably.
Yeah. Soon Dollarama will have a all year long Canada Day aisle and a Halloween aisle and a Christmas aisle, and they'll
Right
just
now-
do that all year long.
Right now
Instead
they
of-
have a combination fall, Halloween, and Christmas.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that seasonal aisle. We've got to like encapsulate everything.
It's so it's mayhem.
Yeah.
Well, that is Blue Harvest in a nutshell. Although in the context of Return of the Jedi, it doesn't really apply to our episode this week.
No, and
That-
in fact, instead of like a secret, the
Yeah.
term is literal in this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's about something that's blue, and the plot is
Yeah,
semi
it's
about the
harvest.
harvest.
The
So
harvest, yeah. That being said, I wanted to ask you guys, as I like to at the beginning of every episode, initial thoughts, sort of just the episode in general. What did we think?
this was a weird one for me, and I don't know what it was, whether I was distracted by like a real life or whatever, but I kept I put it on and I kept like meandering off into other things, and then I got to rewind that, and then
Right.
I don't know, it was kind of like I couldn't stay focused. So my experience is a little disjointed, although I'm like familiar with all the beats. And that was just today. So
Oh, a fresh rewatch.
yeah. It was okay. It seemed maybe because I started, rewound, and it seemed like a longer episode, even though I know it was 22 minutes.
Mm.
It just it felt long. I don't have anything bad to say about it.
I kind of felt the opposite in terms of the pacing. I actually felt it was kind of short.
Yeah, it's
didn't-
probably my stop and start.
Maybe.
Mm.
Andy, where are you on this
I
one?
felt the pacing was okay, but what I did not like was the scaling, that how it would jump.
Oh
throughout the
yeah.
episode.
When you say scaling, you mean like
I
the
mean,
relative scale of
Yes,
creatures?
of creatures to
flogs.
creatures.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Because like, you remember back to that previous episode with the flogs, and Logray is shaking his fingernail,
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
and
right.
like he's literally height of the village. where
Yeah.
in this one, I don't know
On
if
the
it's just
ground,
a
they can rip the
juvenile
huts off.
flog,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. So that relative scale
it fluctuates
creeps up one more
greatly.
time.
Wiki walkie.
Again, though, the flog language, even though we don't have a freaking clue what she's saying,
Right.
you
Tebow knows.
kind of do.
It's like Pig Latin almost, right?
Almost. Yeah.
And Tebow knows.
Well, Tebow's he's in tune, so
He's my
that
man.
just makes sense. Plus, Logray knows, so maybe Logray's taught him a thing or two. Last week, with the 3 lessons, I said I wasn't sure if the slide count was a reflection of my interest in the episode at just 18 slides. If that is the case, let me tell you, we have a new show record with just 15 slides this week.
Oh, you put a couple bookends maybe, because you were saying 13
Well,
earlier in the chat.
Did I say 13?
I might have
think so.
misread actually.
I thought, I can't even tell you. Let me just see if I can see with 13. Yeah, 13 this week.
Lucky 13.
Yeah. I don't know if I liked or didn't. I didn't dislike the episode.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Certainly, it was just like it was okay.
Yeah.
It was just okay.
It was missing a few characters, like we didn't get Latara or Nisa or.
Well, we technically did.
Did we?
They did make an appearance. Latara and Nisa both appear together in the hut when they are being captured, and then Nisa appears at the very end of the episode. She's on the staircase with the 3 of them sitting there, but then in the next frame,
She's gone.
she's gone.
Yeah. I must have missed
And
that
I
frame.
saw a background Ewok that I didn't see before, like with a red sort of Robin Hood pointed hood. I don't know
Yeah.
if you got him in the capture, but
I don't know. I might have, because of all the ones that got captured, he was the one that made me go, oh, because we saw Deej and we saw that other guy.
So you
We
saw what I saw.
Babu.
That's good.
I did for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to take a second and acknowledge we got Ken from Toy Connections dropping
Woo,
by out and about,
Ken.
but I wanted to wish you all a good show. Thanks, Ken. I
Thanks,
really
man.
appreciate
Good
that.
to see you.
Thank you very much. I think part of my issue this week, and maybe, and I don't want to level it, but we got a new writer this week.
I did not.
Yeah, we got a what am I doing? Wrong button, Wes.
There you
Wrong
go.
button. That's the one. We got a co-writer this week. Co-written. This is a Paul Dini episode, but it didn't feel like a Dini episode.
Really didn't.
No.
We have a co-writer in the form of Sam Wilson. That's not
Woo,
Captain America, by the way.
Oh, I thought it might have been.
Well, here's the
It's the
thing.
Falcon
Like,
days.
I don't know, and I didn't want to like scour the credits in the internet looking for this guy. Although I did try. I made that cursory, Google search Sam
Sure.
Wilson cartoon writer,
Hmm.
and this is all that comes up. This is it.
One and
Oh
done.
wow.
So I don't know if this person was an animator on the show or had some other connection to the show besides directing or writing, and this was sort of a let me take you under my wing and kind of teach you a thing or two, or if these are story ideas that Dini took and elaborated on.
Hmm.
But it did feel like a Dini episode.
No.
I met this guy in a diner.
He had this really cool idea, so I'm going to adapt it.
Yeah. All right, so it is Star Wars Ewoks, season 1, episode 12. As we said already, this one is Blue Harvest. Yes, written by Paul Dini and Sam Wilson. God knows, wherever you are in the world, good on you. Like all the other episodes this season, directed by Raymond Jefflis. This one originally aired on Saturday, November 23rd, 1985. It has a runtime of 22 minutes, like all the others. And our episode synopsis this week reads, as the Ewoks gather their annual harvest, the Dulocs plot to steal their crops. Those pesky Dulocs up to it again.
It's like the 4th episode that's been the sort of the thrust of the story.
Well, the episode opens at Bright Tree Village with looks like pretty much the entire community prepping for something called the Fall Festival. We have Wicket and Tebow who are dragging a cart of recently harvested basketballs back into the village.
I thought it was a Halloween episode.
I know, like pumpkins? What? How period appropriate. Well, Wicket complains about both of his brothers having disappeared and that the cart, for some reason, just seems to be a lot heavier than maybe it should be.
And clearly we don't have our beast of burden back because they're dragging it.
Oh, the Bordocks.
Right.
The Bordock makes an appearance this episode too.
He finally made it back to the village after all that running.
Well, the problem is I don't know. Now, see, that one was what I think would be the Great Bordock. It was much larger.
Right.
The Bordock that chews on the rope. I question if it's Baga. They don't say that it's Baga, but I kind of wonder if that's the case. Yeah, maybe. As the boys roll into town, we get Milani, who approaches them to offer them refreshments. Tebow, quite excited, is basically there ready for the handout, and she just walks right by him.
She's quite fresh in this episode.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. She goes to Wicket first, obviously still smitten with him, as what does she call him? Honey Drop. Yeah. Well, Tebow agrees that it is hard work, but at least they have the fall festival the following night. Milani makes an overture about Wicket taking her to the festival, and Wicket kind of awkwardly dodges it with
I might have watch duty tomorrow.
Yeah, lookout duty or something. Or anything but that. I think is kind of where we were going at it.
I hope a monster appears to distract her from this thing that's about to happen.
Yeah. Leaving, Milani looks over her shoulder as she walks away and says, "Bye, honey drop." And she giggles as she runs away. Well, laughter erupts from the cart underneath the recently harvested basketballs. And the boys kind of stopped, like, what? Going around to the back of the cart, they drop the tailgate, and all of the fruit or melons or whatever they are roll out of the cart, spilling out both Willie and Weechie, who have hidden themselves away underneath. Clearly, as a means to get out of work.
Free ride back.
Yeah. Weechie says thanks for the ride home. and ends up basically teasing Wicket. Now, this isn't the first time that his
No.
brothers have teased him, as they sort of make honey drop.
It did seem like a silly choice, though. Like all these round fruits, and you're up on the upper level, and you're just going to let them fly because there's gaps in those railings.
All I
For
Go
sure.
pick them up, Wicket.
they open up the tailgate, and all I hear is the sound from the Phantom. On that is the laughter in the moment is broken as the boys hear this roaring from a creature off in the distance. It's enough to get their attention, and they all rush over to one of the railings, and they see this large dog, a beaver dog,
Steroid beaver.
beaver dog, that's rushing towards the village. Wishi frets, calling it a Vorshak, and he says that they don't live around here, just as the Vorshak does a Tasmanian devil around one of the trees, one of the village support trees, and basically chews it down to a nub. And I don't know why. I don't know if either of you guys got this, but when I saw this, like the way that it moves, I immediately thought of Barkley from Sesame Street.
Oh, crazy.
I don't know why, but that's what came to mind for me. Well, where are we at here now? Let's move ahead.
I thought they said Horseshack, and I was waiting for Gabe Kaplan.
That's right.
That's how old I am. Mr. Cutter.
Well, down on the forest floor, King Gornish, Umwak, the shaman, and some other Dulocks are making their way over towards Brightree Village. Gornish says to Umwak it was a good idea to capture the Vorshak and then set it on the Ewok village.
They always have a plot within a plot. It's like they do have complex things, like they dangerous, complex plots within plots to steal food.
And soap.
Yeah.
You know, we just want the necessities of life. That's all we want.
Right. Vagabonds.
He says that while the Ewoks are busy dealing with the Vorshak, that'll be the cover for them to sneak into the village and basically steal the fall harvest. Meanwhile, the Vorshak rips through another support tree, and Chief Chirpa orders the warriors to prepare their weapons. It's probably the most militant thing he's done in the course of the season.
He gets angry this episode.
Oh, he does. Yeah. He goes, he's ready to go toe to toe, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Logray says there actually might be another way. And suddenly Tebow arrives with a pair of potions in hand. Now, the vials are essentially identical, and Tebow says he can't tell them apart. Well, Logray holds one up, and I don't know, like, we see these vials later on. They're not transparent.
Not at all.
But for the purpose of this scene, Logray is able to identify this one as the red potion, and it turns red for the benefit of us, the viewer.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Maybe
he's
the
seeing
sun
through
hits it.
I don't know. But
My
it says-
question is,
Yeah, go ahead.
why would he make this?
Well, that's a good question. Once we figure out what they are, we'll ask that again.
All right.
Right. Logray holds one of them up to the light, and he says, "This is the red potion, but it's the blue one I need." Then he takes the other one from Tebow's hand, takes the potion, and he pours it over a net, and then tells Wicket and Tebow to get ready to throw it, but don't breathe in any of the fumes from the potion-soaked net. On command, the boys toss the net onto the Vorshak, and the creature's demeanor changes. And suddenly it stops eating the trees as it drifts into a euphoria of sorts. And with its tongue lolling out of its mouth, the Vorshak rolls over and wags its tail.
I would then be smelling the vapor.
Yeah, really.
Seeing that, I would be like, yeah, give me some of that.
Wicket cheers, "You've tamed it!" By the way, as far as the Vorshak goes, this is its only appearance in any Star Wars media.
Right.
We get
Like,
no other
Could show up in Skeleton Crew.
Good, yeah, along with the teak, yeah.
The teak.
All right. Meanwhile, the Dulocs start to raid, I believe, what is a storage hut.
Mhm.
Gornish says, "Why should we grow crops when we can just steal them from the Ewoks?"
Perfectly sound strategy.
Absolutely. Why not? Umwak remarks that he can't hear the Vorshak anymore. And one of the other Dulocs, a Duloc guard, points out that instead of eating the trees, the Vorshak is now frolicking around a meadow in a state of bliss. Well, the Ewoks begin to return to the village, and the Dulocs make a dash for the grapple line that they used to climb into the village. And hanging there precariously as Logray and Wicket and Tebow wander past. Tebow doesn't understand how the potion worked, and Logray explains that it's made from blue olap leaves and that it fills creatures with a sense of joyful affection. Wicket says, "Oh, a love potion."
So it's the Ewok substitute for ecstasy.
Instead of E, it's O.
Yeah.
Opium. What is the
That'll do
actual?
it.
What's the name he says?
Olap.
Olap.
Blue olap leaves.
Yeah. It's got a O and a P in it.
Tebow asks, "What about the red one?" And Logray says that the oils from the red leaves, and I guess it's red olap leaves.
Mhm.
They don't specifically say it, but I'm guessing that's what we're talking about here. He says that it can turn a being evil and hateful.
Wow.
As they wander off, Logray asks the boys to look after his hut while he has to go out and run some other errands. Guy's always got to go somewhere, show someone
He
something.
needs to lock his hut.
Maybe Anakin drank red Olap tea before he killed the younglings, and that's all it
dear.
was.
Oh dear.
That's all it
Palpatine
was.
just fed him a tea, and that was
Just
all
a
it was.
bad tea.
Well, none of them have noticed that Gornish and the other Dulocs hanging on the line that they just walked by overhear the conversation. Gornish has got like a reed or something that it's like almost like a little like a periscope going on there.
Yep.
He says that if they can get their hands on the red potion, then they can give it to a flog, and the flog will destroy the village. We've met the flogs already before, back in episode, I think 2 or 3, where we had a similar, like, don't make them angry.
Well, they stole the baby that time.
Well, that'd do it.
Yeah.
That would do it.
Another plot within a plot.
Well, while that's happening, while the flog is destroying the village, the Duloc should be able to make off with the entire harvest. But just then, a Bordock, possibly Bega, wanders over and begins to pull and chew on the grappling line. And the line snaps, which drops the Dulocs into the bushes below. Of course, nobody gets hurt. They all fall into the bush. And then from there, Gornish tells Umwak that he's going to go and trick the Ewoks, Tebow and Wicket, out of the red potion. I find this next sequence pretty interesting, and I'm really at a loss why they didn't do more with this, because the next scene we get Umwak. By the way, that's the best I could come up with in terms of the little ditty that he's singing.
Right.
Boom boom chow, boom boom chow, boom boom chow, digga digga wugga digga dee, boom boom chow.
Doing his best Jinda impression.
I think, well, that's what I thought too. I listened to that probably 5 or 6 times just to get that much written down.
Nice.
But he's disguised, and he says it when he gets to the door. Honest Umwak, the Tulga trader.
Mm-hmm.
The stick arrangement on his headdress is the same as what Morag would have worn, and the melon snout
Right.
gives us the same sort of impression. This is the first time that the series has acknowledged that the presence of another Tulga,
That's true.
other than Morag.
It could be at Baldini part.
For the life of me, I can't figure out why they didn't do more with them.
But are their names not common knowledge? Like he doesn't. He says I'm Umwak.
Yeah,
Honest
I know,
Umwak, yeah.
Wow, you got the same name as a guy over in the Duloc camp.
And
I
you
guess.
smell like him.
Yeah, really. Does that mean they don't know the Duloc names?
It could be.
Because they're polite with him. They call him Mr. Umwak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be in here, Mr. Umwak.
Well, Umwak, the honest Umwak, the Tulga trader, comes dancing into the village, goes straight to Logray's hut, and he feigns that he's an old friend who's come with just the thing that Logray's looking for, guaranteed to bring you fame, fortune, and courage. Now, despite Tebow and Wicket protesting, he forces his way inside the hut and fumbling with his satchel. Here it is right here. And he dumps the satchel out. Sand or dust,
Some
or
sort of smoke bomb
something.
concoction.
An enormous dust cloud fills the hut, and Umwak is able to snatch one of the potion vials off of a nearby table and runs away with it. And as the dust settles, the boys collectively realize that the traitor was not a friend of Logray's. Well, then Tebow notices that, oh no, he took one of the potions.
We still don't know which one because they're both labeled the same.
They are.
Come on, Logray.
They are identical. I mean,
label your stuff properly.
I guess the vials have a slightly different tone to them, but they're both blue.
Mhm.
Stop making horrible potions, Logray.
Go back to making like the floating one. That was a good one.
That one was good. Yeah.
Not evil potion.
Well, having
Logray is the drama every time.
Oh, you got a hold of one of those, did you?
You need a MacGuffin? Logray. Having made his escape, Umwak stops to gloat over his performance, but then suddenly Wicket and Tebow spot him, and he's on the run again. Well, at some point, he does manage to evade them, and he turns his attention towards finding a flog. It just so happens that at a nearby river, a female flog is plucking some fish out of the water. She plays with them as if they were earrings for a moment. And Umwak remarks, not the fiercest flog I've ever seen, but she'll have to do.
And it's weird because she's away from any sort of family unit.
There is no family unit for her.
Right,
Yeah. So then it's like, is she an adult?
Or is she just a rebellious teen who's wandered off?
Have
Maybe.
we like side by side? She's not one of the flogs we saw before.
I did
kind of
not.
just thought in the back of my head she might have been the
I did not do that, but
mother.
now that you've said
Mhm.
that,
Interesting question.
I will go back to that episode and I will screen grab one and we'll do a side by side on our social media.
Mhm.
I don't think she's part of that family, but because mind you, we didn't get all the names of everybody in that last episode, did we?
No.
We do get her name.
We
So
can
she,
get-
well, let's leave it as it's a solid maybe.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's a solid maybe. We'll check on that. All right. So, not the fiercest flog I've ever seen, but she'll have to do. Dumping the hate potion onto his Tulga robe disguise, he climbs a nearby tree and proceeds to drop it over her face. Well, the flog does not fly into a rage as he anticipated. Instead, she picks up a boulder, like a huge boulder, and begins to hug it quite affectionately.
Not fierce my ass.
But due to her floggy strength, inadvertently crushes it into gravel at the same
Mhm.
time.
Here's where the scaling problems begin.
Yeah.
Umwak realizes that, I've stolen the wrong potion, but he thinks it still might work out for him yet. He's just got to get her back to the Ewok village. Well, the flog now turns her attention to the tree that Umwak just happens to be hiding in, and she plucks it from the ground and begins to hug it. In the process, Umwak is thrown from the tree and lands in the river, to which she notices the splash.
Yeah.
And basically picks him up and does the I will love him and hug him and call him George.
George.
Yeah. Lavishes Umwak with affection, and he's repulsed by that. And in saying that, he manages to wriggle out of her grip and is able to run away. But of course, she gives chase.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Wicket and Tebow, still in pursuit of the mysterious traitor, have now slowed to a walk. And up ahead, there's a fork in the trail, and the boys don't know what to do. But Wicket suggests, well, why don't you go that way, and I'll go that way. Umwak, still fleeing the female flog, runs right past Wicket, who's quite surprised at seeing him, and then comes face to face with the flog, who's in hot pursuit. Well, Wicket introduces himself to her, and she is immediately, she's forgotten Umwak and is immediately smitten with Wicket.
Yeah, forget that stinky green one.
Yeah, exactly.
I like this cuddly brown one.
I like
It's
the
weird
bear.
because she goes from like, a rock will do to a tree, to the
Oh,
first
yeah.
sort of sentient thing she grabs, and then she basically dead stops it at Wicket because she has further opportunities for suitors or whatever she's
Mhm.
looking for, objects of her affection, and
Well,
they
I
all
mean,
aren't Wicket. So perhaps this potion has like a, you know what I mean, like a peak efficacy
oh,
where
maybe it takes time to set in. Maybe
like once you fixate on that object, then that becomes the
the object of your affection.
yeah, there you go.
I wonder though, like let's look at this as sort of a sliding scale. Tree is prettier than rock.
Yeah,
Wicket is prettier than tree.
true. But
Mm.
I mean, she has an opportunity for, like, say, Nisa,
Oh, that's true. That
or
is
I
true.
don't know, maybe to her,
That's true.
perhaps
Yeah,
to
yeah.
her,
If it's based on individual tastes. I
it
mean,
could be,
obviously she's
could
got a
be.
thing for rocks and trees.
It's
Mhm.
also, one of the ingredients is the plot.
Absolutely. All right. So, he introduces himself to her. She's immediately smitten and she picks him up and begins smothering him with kisses.
Mm.
Tebow calls out, "What are you doing?" And annoyedly, Wicket says, "I'm romancing a flog. What does it look like?"
It's a sequel to the Michael
Romancing the
Douglas
Stone.
movie.
Romancing the flog.
An all Ewok reproduction of
Yeah,
Romancing the
seriously.
Stone.
Tebow, now extremely confused about the whole thing, says, "Well, we need to get back to the village." And just like Umwhack, Wicket wriggles out of her grip, and the three of them now rush off. As they go, Umwhack pops up from a nearby bush and has
Calls it
this
Tebow.
like, yo, seriously, Doing! Has this sinister laugh at the turn of events. We get back to the village. Wicket decides that he's got to hide before the Lady Flog shows up and finds him. And it's not too long before she's actually there. And not spotting Wicket immediately, she starts lifting the roof
They
off
skipped
of a
that.
nearby hut,
They skipped that part though, because like they don't show her on the ground
getting
getting
onto the
up. She's
platform.
just
No.
already up.
She's
on
there,
these,
yeah.
like platform
Yeah.
levels. And again, these things must be built pretty strong, right?
We do get the reverse of that though later on. We see
Yeah.
her jumping off.
Yes, we do.
So I mean, on off. I guess it's all kind of
Yeah.
relative.
She got to think these are load bearing,
These platforms,
structures.
yeah. I hope so.
built for flogs.
It's not long before she's in the village. Not seeing Wicket immediately, she lifts the roof off of a nearby hut to see if he's inside, but all she finds is a panicked family. We don't see them, but we hear, "Ah!" like this, like terrifying, like screaming.
It's the equivalent of what was the one in the original Disney
remember.
Christmas Carol, where
Oh,
the Ghost of Christmas Present is walking through the giant and he's lifting up things, and he finds the girl showering. She screams.
Oh, right,
Oh,
right.
nice.
She ends up dropping the roof back down, and you see the whole hut. Like it doesn't collapse, but it buckles.
It looks kind of like a Smurf hut at that point.
Oh, very much, yeah. A little muffin topped.
Mhm.
Then, spotting some clay pots nearby, she sifts through them one by one, shaking them and then throwing them away until finally the very last one, Wicket, comes tumbling out into the palm of her hand. At that point, Chief Chirpa and Logray, along with Tebow, arrive, and the chief yells, "Wicket, what's going on here?" Logray instinctively turns to Tebow and says, "This wouldn't have anything to do with that missing love potion, would it?" Logray, "Of course it does." Logray says he heard how they fell victim to the traitor. Who told him that? And surmises that it's the traitor that must have used it on the flog.
Yep.
Chirpa asks Logray if he can make a cure for it. Regrettably, Logray says no. And Wicket is pretty upset at that because now he's stuck with her. What do you mean I'm stuck with her now? Now the flog says some stuff in flog.
Floganese.
Yeah, and translating, she has introduced herself as Huna. And Logray says that the only way to break the effect is for Huna to be shocked out of it. He shouts out to Wicket, "Now, Wicket, you've got to be nice and go along with her," while Huna lavishes several more kisses on Wicket. He says, "But I'm drowning up here." Chirpa adds that you have to stay with her, that if you run away, Huna will likely destroy the village looking for him. We got a great comment here from Sean. The Huna Build-A-Figure. She would have been a cool Build-A-Figure.
Any of the vlogs would be really.
We jokingly talk about let's revamp, let's reboot Ewoks with an adult spin. But like, you can't tell me that like the Dulocs, all of the alien creatures that we've encountered, would not make for some cool live action translations.
Mm-hmm.
The flogs included, of course.
Yes.
Well, with Wicket in hand, Huna begins to sing quite loudly. And it's loud enough that King Gornish and the other Dulocs who are nearby hear it. But they actually misinterpret the singing for screaming. And Umwak says, "Well, the flog must be tearing the village apart." But when they arrive at the village, Gornish gets pretty angry at him because he can now see that, no, it's actually just singing. In spite of Umwak telling him that the village should be ruined by now. Now, fearful of his king, Umwak blurts out that the Ewoks must have given, what'd she say, the brat? I think she says something to the effect of given the brat to calm her down.
Oh, yeah.
Then Gornish comes up with a plan and says, "Well, let's see how calm she is without her little pet." And he dives back into the bush. Whoop!
Presumably to make the object that he uses.
He reverse T-bows.
Yeah.
Well, later on, as Wicket sits clutched in Huna's hand, she ends up is taking a fairly peaceful nap. Milani arrives with a basket of fruit, and she is not happy, as she calls Wicket a two-timer. Wicket does try to reason with her, and the reason that he's doing this is to prevent the village from being destroyed. But Milani doesn't buy it, and she ends up throwing quite a few pieces of fruit at his head. And after she leaves, Wicket actually end up kidnapping. Umwak kidnaps Wicket right out of Huna's grasp and replaces him with a sack mannequin of sorts as a replacement.
It's pretty elaborate.
That's like Frosty the Snowman before they put the hat on him.
That's right.
Frosty the Sack Man?
Maybe.
Wiki the sack walk. While Umwak holds on to Wicket, covering his mouth, Gornish says that when Huna discovers the substitution, she'll level the village. And it's not long before Huna wakes up and realizes that the sack dummy is indeed not Wicket. Now, distraught at his absence, she starts shouting for him and looking around. Well, the Dulocs, with Wicket now as their prisoner, stop to listen. Gornish says, "Hear that, Ewok? Say goodbye to your village. This is the end of the Ewoks." Laughing hysterically as they rush off into the forest.
Today's a little... There you go.
Oh, what's going on, my friend?
Whoa, happy sunrise.
That is true. It is Monday morning. Wow, it's early morning there. Early enough. Too early for me.
Thanks for coming.
Where are we at here? Oh, yeah, one more. Still on the hunt for Wicket, Huna continues to rummage through the village as only a flog can. Instead, she comes face to face with Willie and Weechie. Mistaking Willie for Wicket, he says, "He's my brother." But it just so happens that Weechie is standing nearby, and then Huna turns her attention to him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not Wicket."
See,
Weechie,
either one of them there could have like stopped and be like, "Yeah, I can be Wicked for a minute."
yeah, they couldn't do that. No,
No, I want him.
Why would we do that? Weechie makes a run for it, and Huna chases after him. So this whole like, you're just the next one in line.
Yeah,
It's a real thing. Huna chases after him, running past Logray and Chirpa on a footbridge. He tells them, "I don't know where Wicket is, but he must have run away from her." Huna steps onto the bridge, and the bridge, it undulates quite wildly, forcing Logray and Chirpa to essentially hold on for their lives. Now with the Ewoks all focused on Huna, like practically the entire village,
Mhm.
the Dulocs raid the village. Now, silently, they go about essentially disarming and capturing pretty much the entire village. I think on the very center image, the guy you're talking to, Hank, is it the middle guy there with the gray mustache and beard?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, he's like the last. He's the one guarding the hut that they're in. I
Yeah,
think.
he was in the like second slide you had of the group shot of the Ewoks too, slide number 2.
Oh, okay,
He
okay.
was also there, but I've never seen him before.
Oh, I
right
see
back
what you're saying. Yeah, I see him there.
Looks like a Shriner.
What one were we on here? We're on. Nope, we're too far ahead. There we go.
Yeah.
Evil Dulocs.
Well, with no threat of being stopped, Umwak parades Wicket out to Huna as if they somehow miraculously found him. And returning him to the flog, he suggests that she takes him home with her to the desert.
Oh,
We didn't know that flogs come from the desert.
no, we didn't know there were deserts on
Endor.
Endor.
Yeah. We knew there were grasslands.
Yeah.
Well, there is that one desert-like structure between the the little weirdos and
The Guppins.
Yes, the Guppins.
And the
Land
tree
of Guppins.
trekkers.
Yes.
It's getting more robust all the time. We have the mountain area that we saw,
Mhm.
and we have the swamps.
It's
And
true.
it goes to show you that Rise of Skywalker dropped the ball, because you could easily have a large enough ocean on Endor for the Death Star to crash into.
Mhm.
I would have been okay with that.
Me
Like,
too.
A million times over, I'd have been okay with that.
Or
It
even if
makes
they crashed
sense.
into that Valley of the Floating Trees.
Yes, seriously. Well, Chirpa and Logray, who are now, wait a second, they arrive ready for a fight, and they order the Dulocs out of the village. But then Gornish reveals himself, and he asks, is that any way to treat a guest? Chirpa quips, guest? And Gornish tells him that due to an oversight, the Dulocs didn't plant any crops this year. And with the snows coming, they've come to share in the Ewoks' harvest. And they've got something to trade for it. Then Chirpa sees some of the prisoner, and he says, let me guess, our skins for our food? Gornish is like, you got it. And he says it would be a shame to waste all of these decorations. So they're going to throw their own little party before they carry off the rest of the food. Josh is here. Hey, fellas. Sorry I'm late. I was taking a nap like an old man.
All good.
Brother, we all need it.
Totally.
When you got a nap, you got a nap. It's totally
man.
okay. And with that, Chief Chirpa and Logray are escorted into the hut with the other Ewoks, while the Dulocs cheer. Meanwhile, we've got Huna, who carries Wicket off to her home. Wicket starts to plead with her to let him go so that he can save the village. Now, Huna is just too enamored with him and doesn't really get what he's trying to tell her. But Wicket thinks there's got to be some way to break the spell. And I guess he remembers what Logray said. And in his attempt to shock her, begins to lavish his own affections on her and starts kissing her on the nose, which apparently proves effective enough to break the spell.
Snaps her out of it.
Now, after coming around, Huna does this like kind of like double take, like, where am I?
Mm-hmm.
And Wicket goes through it all over again, reintroduces himself, and explains that she was put under a spell by the evil Dulocs, at which Huna gets quite angry about. He says that the Dulocs, they will get the Dulocs, but they need a plan first. Well, Huna picks him up, and Wicket begins to lay out the plan by whispering into ear something about, why don't you and I go back to the village? And I don't know why he's whispering, because they've
They're in the
already
middle of
walked
nowhere.
away. Where are they going?
Well, just in case anybody's hiding in a bush.
I get, yeah. Just in case Tebow's nearby.
Gotta get ahead of that.
Well, when Huna and Wicket arrive back at the village, the Dulocs are quite surprised to see them. But Wicket kind of hams it up and says that, I've been with Huna for so long now that I think the potion is rubbing off on me. He says that Huna would like to perform a love dance for the Dulocs in honor of them bringing them together. Gornish laughs at the notion, but he's like, okay, dance.
He almost blows it though.
In what way?
Because he's like, of all the things I've ever seen, this is the silliest I've ever seen.
Oh,
And
no.
he ticks her off.
He says, actually, last week we had the Ganga root.
Yes.
Right.
Spelled exactly the same way as ganja.
Ganja.
Did anybody else think that Gornish was making an overt drug reference when he said this blissed out flog?
Maybe.
Blissed out. That's a direct quote.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take it at face value, but I'm like, oh, that's a little on the nose, isn't it?
They do eat roots and stuff, so
that's true. Well, Huna's dance isn't exactly graceful as she twirls around, nearly knocking some of the Dulocs over, but it's all an elaborate ruse to keep them occupied so the imprisoned Ewoks can free themselves, which they do. Apparently, closing the door is not enough. Huna lowers Chief Chirpa down to the area where they have prepped for the festival, and Chirpa shouts, "Dinner's over! Time to pay up!" And that's where I think he's like literally ready to like charge it. Gornish is so entertained by the oddity of Huna's dance that he doesn't even realize that the Ewoks have been freed until he repeats himself, "Pay up? Wait a minute! How did you get loose?" But looking around, he sees that the villagers have essentially surrounded them on a higher platform, and all of them are armed.
it's that moment right out of Braveheart.
Some of them are armed with just like vegetables and fruit, but still, they're all armed.
Did I buy fruiting?
Now, Huna drops her guise and she shouts very angrily at the Dulocs.
Dreadnoughts.
As she
or Duloc?
as she shakes her fists at them. Gornish, sensing that they've outstayed their welcome, shouts to everyone, "Run for it!" And they do, all except Umwak, who is blissfully unaware of what has just transpired, who comes sauntering out of Logray's hut with a veritable treasure trove of wizardly items, including the Lochnar, the scrying device. That's kind of cool. Proud of himself, he says he'll be the best wizard that ever whizzed. That is until Huna plucks the scrying device from the top of the pile and gets his attention. Then, dropping everything, he stands there quivering in fear. Huna picks him up and then hands him over to Wicket, who is apparently standing on the ground.
And somehow they've managed to retrieve the potion.
Yeah, well, no, it's not the potion.
Are we sure?
Yeah. She hands him over to Wicket, Tebow, Nisa, and Milani, who are standing there on the ground. Wicket places a wreath of blue olap leaves around his neck.
The unrefined version.
Yeah, just the leaves. Huna shouts at the shaman one more time, snapping him out of his stupor, and Umwak runs for his life. But he trips and he falls into a swamp. So I guess he's been running for some time. And with the leaves now soaking wet, they start to give off the fumes. Yeah. He quickly plugs his nose and he tosses the wreath off his neck, but it lands on the snout of a swamp hippo like we saw in that other episode. The beast inhales the fumes as it wakes up from its slumber, and seeing Umwak, it is instantly enamored with him and chases after him, literally with love in its eyes. Giant heart-shaped pupils.
Yeah.
There you go from Josh. Yes, it does.
Duloc sounds like a Rothstein song.
Duloc Nesh.
Dulocs. I love it. Where are we now? Oh yeah, one more. Here we go. With the spell broken and the immediate Duloc threat abated, Huna says goodbye to her new friends. Wicket thanks her for her help and says that he's actually going to miss her. She waves as she bids her goodbyes. Tebow translates for Huna, who apparently says, "Don't worry, Wiki, you'll get over me in time." The two of them share a laugh, and Wicket says, "Oh, it's true. I'm young." Now, Wicket waves goodbye at Huna, who looks back over her shoulder and blows them a kiss. But the force of her breath is it so strong as to knock them back and the other Ewoks up one stair of the staircase that they happen to be sitting on.
Force kiss.
Milani, happy to have Wicket practically in her lap,
Alone in
wraps
her
her
lap.
arms around his neck and says, "Welcome back, honey drop." And the episode ends as we fade to black.
Mhm.
Behind the scenes, Niece is like two-timer.
I don't have it here, but let me see if I can. Yeah, it's not here. There is a spot. She is standing, like in the establishing shot of this scene, she's standing on the staircase with them.
Right.
But then when we get into the close-up with them sitting on the steps, she's gone.
Maybe she got
So you
blown
can
off.
almost see Lilani in the background of the bottom middle slide, I think.
Yeah, we've got Milani and then Tebow at the top.
Yeah.
There's one other thing I noticed this episode, and I might actually have it here. Hang on a second here. When the Dulocs raid the village the first time, where is it here? Right there. In the middle row there, when they're like panicking and running for the rappel line, the grapple line. This episode uses that sequence, that exact sequence, twice. Because when Gornish says run, this is this thing that they play this sequence again. Everybody running for it. Exactly the same animation sequence.
It's just a coincidence because one of those scenes was written by Sam Wilson.
That's right. Oh man. Now that it's over, what do you guys think?
Not
I
bad.
think they're always better after we do this. Like
Yeah,
they just,
I would
they
agree.
just this is a lot of fun.
And out of this episode, we now have yet another creature on Endor ready to kill you.
Which one is
The
that?
steroid beaver.
Oh, the beaver dog. Barkley the beaver dog.
Well, I mean, so all we have to do
Rorschach.
is pour the hate potion and the plant growth potion on something, and it's over on Endor. Like,
Yeah.
You had asked earlier, why would Logray make something like this? And to be honest, on my initial watch through, I actually thought one was the antidote for the other.
Yeah. Like
that makes sense, like the opposite emotion, but
Yeah.
it seems like I'm just gonna. The opportunity is here to make this nefarious thing, and in the name of science or the Force, I'm just going to shaman it up.
I'm just going to do it because I
Well,
can.
we know he's a bit what's the word? Reckless.
Yeah.
Putting the plant growth serum next to his
Right next to the plant.
what was it? The strangle vine.
Oh, right. The Stranglethorn. The Stranglethorn.
Yeah, here, let me
Yeah.
just put this growth potion
He's,
right next to
he's
it.
low key the problem in a lot of the episodes.
Josh would like us to know that on Endor, everyone can hear you scream.
That's hilarious. That's funny as hell.
That's as good as the Stormtrooper joke.
That's real good.
7 pairs of eyes and what, hundreds of teeth or whatever. A Stormtrooper patrol at night. Chattering teeth. Yeah, I agree, Hank. It's always more fun and always more sort of palatable when we do these. There hasn't been an episode that I've hated.
No.
Do I count this among the ones that I would say are most endearing for me? No.
You could tell Paul Dini had a hand, but it's still not a Dave Carreau episode. You know what I mean? Like it still has a.
I always
It's
felt
not
like
as absolutely ridiculous as some of his episodes have been.
I
Like
always
in,
felt-
in a fun way. Don't get me wrong, but
the
like
Carreau
over the
episodes
top.
are definitely the more, and not in a bad way, but they are the more juvenile episodes. And I thought this was on the same level, but it felt different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd be interested to know what happened to that guy after Ewoks. Like, did you just give up writing? Like, did you do this did you lose? Did you win a contest or lose a bet? Like, I don't know which way this went.
Mhm.
Right? Like, we could win a contest and get like a walk on, right? Like,
That's
but
right.
we could also be the loser and get like a walk on. So I don't know. I don't know. Next week, however, I have looked ahead. I've through reading over the course of these some 12 episodes now. I've read quite a bit of the wiki entries on this stuff, which has forced me to look at other episodes out of order. So I will say next week's episode, the season finale, Asha, I have looked ahead and I've watched bits and pieces of it, and I do think that next week's episode is perhaps one of the strongest episodes of the entire season. It might even be.
Fully, I agree.
It might even be the strongest episode of the season.
I do agree. It feels like if you're gonna reboot the thing, you could reboot it around this idea.
Oh yeah. I agree with that as well. Yeah, Asha. We talked a little bit about Nisa and the royalty and there's a Chief Chirpa, but there's not a Mrs. Chirpa.
Right. And that one random Ewok that was like the soothsayer, like that there's other Ewoks, are there other
the lore
tribes?
keeper,
and this suggests that character is out there on her own or with others, right?
Right. Yeah. So all these things that we've sort of posited are entirely plausible.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Marvel Comics.
Just in time to change absolutely everything. Speaking of Marvel Comics, is everybody else up to speed?
On the
Tales
Return
of the
Kylo Ren?
Jedi.
Oh, okay.
The set before the Phantom Menace, and I guess it's the heyday, the end days of the heyday of the Jedi.
I read something that each episode is going to focus on a different Jedi Master and Padawan.
Yeah.
With an overarching plot across all of the issues.
Yeah, so it's an ongoing, and we're gonna get. I mean, like, I sent the image of the cover, I think, or the link to the Marvel
You did.
Comics.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So like Dooku is there as Jedi, so I think we're getting into that cool stuff that we saw, in
when we watched Tales of
Clone Wars. Remember when Yoda had that vision where it was like the what if Dooku hadn't fallen? So I think we're going to go back to see Dooku.
The idea of visiting Dooku again as a Jedi.
Very cool.
And maybe before his ideological shift. That's interesting to me because outside of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn was the most compelling character in the Phantom Menace.
It's just nice to see them like okay, these are the strong points.
Yeah.
And to like emphasize those, like this could easily be the catalyst. Like I would take something like we've been getting with Tales of the Jedi, and move like let's do 10 seasons of that. Let's pencil that instead of what we're getting, which is 1 week Daisy Ridley says big update coming, and the next week it's our head writer has been fired.
Everything's
we don't know where we're going. And you're getting these blades been pushed back, and you're like, what's going on, Disney?
Yeah, I don't know. Blades off the release calendar,
like completely. Like, are they going to reshoot the whole thing with Wesley Snipes now? Like,
we talked about this last Tuesday on Random Fandom, and I mean, I'll say it again, like off the release calendar doesn't necessarily mean your movie is dead.
No,
but we all know what happened to Rogue Squadron.
Oh God.
Right? Like, you don't have a window of release anymore.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's no more push.
Taika Waititi's writing one word a day.
But there is that good quote from Samuel L. Jackson.
What's that?
Yeah.
He'd love to come back?
Oh, not only would he love to come back, he's like, come on, man. I was the second most powerful Jedi, and all I did was fall out a window. There's no way I'm dead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, talking about Sam Jackson coming back to Star Wars, like, we're at a point now where, like, it's the same thing with Ron Perlman as Hellboy. Like, you better do it soon or you won't be able to.
Yes.
We're at a point now to do anything with that character has got to be, like, his stunt double's going to be in it more than he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we just go right for it and we do Old Man Windu.
Old Man Windu.
Oh, I could handle that.
Yeah. In my day, he was called Jolie Bindo, and he was a psychotic nut.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a little Knights of the Old Republic reference for you. Sean says they're making too much Marvel stuff. Give us a break.
I kind of agree, and I like that's very controversial. Like, because I'm a huge fan, and I'm like, when I say this a lot. I think I've said this on the podcast and on different versions of the podcast, that when I saw Iron Man for the first time,
Yeah.
it wasn't only the best movie I saw that year, it was the best movie I'd seen in a decade.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
I hear
and
you
then
on
they
that.
kept like, and I don't know if any of them were ever that good. I agree with you that Civil War is top notch. But they kept sort of like that energy and that pace for so long. And I recently saw a YouTuber who's not us, but and I'm not going to quote them, but saying like that they were like basically they were done their abusive relationship with Marvel. It started out really strong and they were having a good time, but then he hit her once or he yelled at
Oh,
her at
gotcha.
dinner, and that
Yeah.
and that and it was basically I'm out of this abusive relationship with Marvel. And I mean, I don't want to say guys like Scorsese and that like are but there is a fatigue that's setting in where if you're not
Yeah.
going to come with $1 billion A game, I don't want you to take 3 years to make a movie. We're okay with that. We grew up in the 80s. I can handle that.
3-year gaps. I'm already there now with
I-
my, I mean, with Star Wars, which we talk about
Yeah.
every week. Even the new movies took time between.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't need something every 6 months. I can be that patient. I mean, do we really? I mean, we look at these in microscopic, and this is something maybe we can explore if the people out there are interested in it, but we've never dissected the original trilogy the way we dissect everything else.
We never have.
And that's baseline. That's where we get all our
I'm afraid to tackle a movie because we turn a 20-minute cartoon
right.
into
We might have to do it
into a 2-hour show, right?
do it in acts. But the point being, it's like we've never done that to those things, and we have had 40 years to chew on that lore, to coalesce our little fan ideas, our headcanons and things. And are we really as intimately invested in all this new stuff? No, with no 40-year frame of reference. Like, I'm enjoying it. I like it a lot, and I like to go through it in great detail, but are we actually, do we know it as well as like we maybe think we do,
That's a good
compared to, like 40 years of just naturally cooking on the back of the stove, as opposed to we're going to flash fry a buffalo in 5 seconds.
I think, I think you make a good point, Hank, certainly where the movies are concerned, because like outside of the original trilogy, obviously my next, as a fan, whether you want to, whatever label you want to put on that, but as a fan who has watched the movies, the Skywalker saga multiple times, obviously my greatest knowledge is in the original 3. Right after that, it's the prequels. Those are the ones I've watched probably the most after the originals.
For me, I would even put my Legends stuff before the prequels in terms of the stuff that I'm like that I know very well.
Yeah.
Like the role playing lore and
that stuff I'm
Legend
pretty
stuff.
well versed in that
Right.
way. Yeah.
And not that I'm taking any like the prequels in, like they've aged very well. I think they've it will keep using the cooking analogy. They've simmered over time very nicely.
The prequels have been essentially the gateway to the best of the new Star Wars.
But I feel like, the sequels are a microwave pizza compared to like,
Yeah, it is Star Wars, but they're better.
It's like it's pizza. It's not good pizza, but it's pizza. I'm going to eat it.
Right. But then the other analogy for pizza, right? It can still apply to Star Wars.
Somebody
even
put
when it's
anchovies on it,
even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's right.
All except for that last one that we won't talk about. Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to. I don't know if it makes financial.
What was that?
I don't know if it makes financial sense for them to take a break. But I know, like, there are people outspoken in the industry that are definitely correct. And I have this beef with the Avatar movies, that when they're making an Avatar movie, nothing else is getting made, because the entire industry is bent on getting these trillion-dollar features out.
Tentpole movies.
So are the actual like cool art films, are they all pushed to Netflix and we're missing them because they're so they're so buried under, the latest Eddie Murphy thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I could take a break because I could sit and chew on what we've had in the last 10 years for the next 40 and be fine with it. That's, I guess, what my point is.
I think that's because of our generation and how we came up with, like, we just lived in that generation where, like, that's all there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all there is. That's all there
true.
was. There was
Right.
never a thought of like, we're going to get more. That announcement that, George Lucas was going back to Star Wars was like getting hit by a bus. Like nobody saw that coming. Nobody expected that.
No.
Nobody.
I was never on the internet in my life before that, and then that's when I started going, okay, I need to find screenshots, or there's a trailer I can watch on some website I've heard about, and that's like basically where it started.
Yeah, there was a Star Wars website. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of it. It was like Jedi Temple Archives or something kind of weird that I used to visit like every day.
Yeah,
to get,
absolutely.
Like, what's the new news today?
Right, and it would
What
be
are
like
we talking about today?
here's the lawn of Naboo, and you're waiting
Right.
for it to like.
You ever watch your grass grow?
Wait for this image to load.
Now watch the grass grow and pile up.
That's a blurry battle droid. Look at that thing.
It's amazing.
But so I'm like, I guess we come from I don't want to say like I don't want to say people aren't as patient or that like everything is just instantly fast, but I agree that we could wait and it would do nothing but strengthen the properties if you took the time to let these things.
We are now like a throwaway culture. Like, give it to me now. Okay, I've had it. Give me next. Right?
Oh yeah. If it can't be consumed, and our show is an example of that. If I can't consume it in 5 minutes or less, right? Like in 5 minutes, I think in some cases you're asking a lot to ask someone for 5 minutes. Like, there's a reason why shorts. Is it shorts or reels? One of them is getting extended. You're getting more than a minute now. They're going to be they're allowing them up to 3 minutes, maybe even 5. Maybe 5 minutes isn't a bad ask, but you get what I'm saying.
Some of the bigger channels are getting engagement on longer form videos, but I mean, it's from probably cats our age, like
I would tend to agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like and even I find it like intimidating to sit down and engage with something that's like, even if it's something I'm super interested in, if it's a half an hour, and I'm like, there's stuff in my life I need to do. It's super rare when I'll watch a half-hour YouTube video on anything, but I'll often go, okay, I can watch 5 minutes of this, or push it and watch an 8-minute video by a YouTuber or something like that.
I think for me, the idea of like short form content, I watch the short form content, or YouTube specifically, I should say. I watch the short form content of the YouTubers that I subscribe to because that gives me a window into, do I want to watch the full video?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Right. Like it's the preview, right? And that's kind of how I approach it for our channel. Like that's how I tend to use it. Like I try to pull like some of the funniest or the most engaging clips, and hopefully that's enough to trip an eye. Like, oh, maybe I should go and watch the full video.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't always happen, but
on the other side, like if they did dial it back on, like another season or another property or whatever every 3 months, that would give us more time to go back and, revisit the stuff that's currently there.
Right. And really, and see, has it, because we did that, the Age of Disney episode.
The Disney, Star Wars in the Disney era.
Is that it's almost like we needed to fill time. So, right. But is that we're so close to the problem that can you like, it's like writing about the Beatles in 1965 and not, not realizing like, oh, the best is yet to come.
Right.
Like,
but is the best, I mean, can we apply that same?
I don't know. That's you can't know, but you don't like, is it going to turn to vinegar? Is it wine?
You're right.
No, the Mandalorian Grogu will be good.
Okay, but let's I was going to bring that up.
Just finished filming.
Principal photography anyway. Now we wait for the And it's not a bad thing, although it seems recent news has turned it into this evil thing. Now we wait to see if there's going to be reshoots, which there most certainly will be, because that's the
it's the
process.
way they shoot things now.
Yeah, yeah.
What I'm interested in is I can't recall a feature film shot on the volume, and I'm wondering how the volume will translate to the big screen.
Is this 100% volume shot?
Not
100%?
100%, but it's certainly
lot,
got
yeah,
elements,
yeah.
right? And because there's the weird edges, and there is the complaint about like how many of the episodes have been so dark that you could barely see them,
That's true.
right? Like,
I guess for me, a couple things. One, we now know that the Mandalorian and Grogu is the end of the Mandoverse. That's it. It's over. There's no more seasons after that.
Yeah.
no, well,
Skeleton Crew, taking place in the Mandoverse, is about to drop here in 2 months. 2 months. Yeah, just a little under 2 months.
that's right.
We're getting a second season of Ahsoka.
Mhm.
Are all these things going to happen?
We're still getting the Dave Filoni wrap-up movie.
Is
big-
it? Are we? Is that
That's everything I'm reading is
okay?
that's the case.
So that will be the
that
that
is
will be the
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 culmination of all
yeah.
the things in one pot, I guess.
Okay, well then that gives me way more breathing room than I thought we had, because I'm like, wait a minute, are we like are we wrapping everything up and we've got to get in like this next season of this first season, or maybe only season of Skeleton Crew and then season 2 of Ahsoka.
I think that more like the Mandalorian, which was an experiment.
Yep.
We need to not go, let's write this big friggin' magnum opus 6-season thing that tanks season 1. Let's write something open-ended with like a hint of something to move forward through.
Yeah.
And and then you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're forcing lightning in a bottle. And time and again, it's you can't. We're so fickle. Come on, we're so fickle that, like, if I don't know, if the Mandalorian season 1 episode 1 hadn't opened the way it opened.
Yep.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like if you're planning too big, you're investing so much energy, and I think something open-ended is probably better, because you can almost guarantee. I think they might have thought in the beginning, we can do no wrong.
There might have been some of that. I don't think you can rule that out.
And so like I said, I've said it before, I wouldn't mind like a weekly adventure of the week style Star Wars show, and it could be animated. There can be no ties to the Empire or Jedi. It can just be one-off stories,
something
like
episodic, like classic, like a lot of classic 80s TV was.
Exactly, like, and it's the same
everything
characters.
is
They're still
self-contained.
cops. They're still on motorcycles or whatever. But it's like flavor. And the thing about the potential that the Mandalorian and Grogu had to give us that was astronomical. And even the tease that we're going to be returning to that,
to walk it back to that
adventure, to end there, and then to say, okay, we're not going to give you 16 more seasons of this, which I could really use 8 or 10 or 12 more hours of that. I'm going to get 2, and it better be good, Dave.
Yeah. It all comes down to the right people for the right job, and I mean, we have heaped boatloads of praise on both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and I do believe that they are the right people for the job.
I do too.
I do believe that what they are going to deliver is going to be okay, and it's probably going to be better than okay.
Yes.
But yeah, man, like, as much as I love, and I do love serialized content, it feeds me in a way that nothing else does. There is something to be said for a self-contained episode of something, or a self-contained movie, where it's not automatically assumed that, oh, this is going to get a sequel.
Right.
Because
when Star Trek did it, and I'm me, when I'm apples and oranges, but Star Trek has done it eloquently for years.
Yeah.
Just movie of the week, and it's been fun, and it's been a good time. And I mean, if you're going to do something, let's hope that it's a nice tight thing, and that they can see it through, because nothing hurts more than Lost season 6.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Except
on that
maybe
note,
Duckman season 5.
on the whole subject of animation, nothing really nothing loud anyway about the next animated project, other than to say that there's whispers that there is something in the
There
works.
was like a casting call for a director or something that
Yeah,
somebody saw. Yeah, I think like I'm still going to say this that this since the inception of the strongest properties have been Rebels and the Clone Wars, and the Tales of the Jedi has been strong, and even the one-offs, with
visions.
Visions have been
Yeah,
super
yeah.
strong, and I wonder if like that shouldn't be the future of what we're going for here. I feel like the stakes are less high.
I mean, Star Wars first and foremost was a space fantasy. It was a theater going experience,
That's true.
and on some level, it works best in theaters. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been a Star Wars movie yet that I have not seen theatrically. Maybe not
Mm.
their original run, but I've seen every Star Wars film theatrically, and that they are best in that viewing experience.
No, it's true.
I still make that argument, and this is me just playing devil's advocate. Since the advent of widescreen televisions, that theater going experience, the lines are are blurred a little more
They sure
as
are.
panels get bigger. You know,
There's just a
like
level of convenience about being able to do that at
absolutely.
home.
When I get the IMAX screen in my house, the 30-foot tall IMAX screen
Nice.
in my house, that'll be the
I
day I
still
stop
don't.
going, right?
It used to be about the experience for me, and
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
find that. I mean, it's still great to watch big with nice sound and sit in the middle and do the Sheldon thing and make
Mm,
sure my
mm.
spot's perfect.
Middle. Nobody sit around
And
me.
so now that you can pre-order tickets, I'm the king of that. But I don't feel the vibe from the audience like you used to
No.
when we were kids. I
Like
don't.
everybody would go to see
pe-
that movie.
People
Now
don't
everybody
clap
goes
in
just to kinda
theaters.
hang out.
People don't gasp in unison. People don't cry at the right moments together.
Wait, were
I
you in the theater with me when we saw it was one of the
Starship Troopers.
Star
Starship
Trek
Troopers.
movies?
Oh, maybe.
One of the Star Trek movies, the one where it's like when when Data has this reaction, yes,
Yeah.
and I'm like in the theater, fuck yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think we saw that in Lindsay.
and I'm like, did I just do that? Oh
Yeah.
no,
You're into
I
it though.
I
my
was very
my
into it. Yeah.
favorite being in a theater experience. I was with US. My favorite experience ever being in a theater, ever seeing a
Yeah,
movie was Starship
yeah,
Troopers.
it's so visceral.
I had the most fun watching that movie I've ever had watching a movie in my life.
It is an incredibly visceral movie to begin with, and if you can't go along for the ride on that one,
Yeah.
you're watching the wrong movie.
I think there was like 10 of us there that night though. It was just the crowd was into it. It was animated. It was fun. I
That speaks to our society in general
I can't
about
remember the last
the
time
social aspect of
people
going to
clapped in
the
a movie
movies.
that I was
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
Mm.
No, they clap every time the plane lands, but don't clap for a good movie?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen,
We got a couple comments. to catch up on
let's
here.
just catch up here. We've got let's see, Josh talking about of course I can't sit still either, but usually what I do is I listen and I walk around or do laundry. Okay, that's fair. And then follows it up with to say the book where a Star Destroyer was taken over by zombies was cool, and that would be a cool spooky movie.
Mhm.
Mm.
Did you read that one, Hank?
I don't think I
No,
did,
I
but
don't think I read that one
I'm
either.
aware of some of the horror stuff. That's it's like Project Necromancer. I think it's like name dropped there first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we know they can do it based on that one episode of the Bad Batch where Wrecker gets
Oh dear. Yeah.
it's like just a straight up horror.
Rebels driving around a big van making cannons out of tree.
I would
frogs,
watch
tree
that shit.
logs.
I would like
Tree
I
logs.
would
Yes.
like honestly, like it doesn't even have to be Han Solo and Chewie, but a guy in his Wookiee in a spaceship just doing stuff like BJ and the Bear, like Dukes of Hazzard episodes of Star Trek or Star
Listen,
Wars. You know,
what's one of the big games right now is space trucking.
Okay.
Right? It's literally truck driving in space.
Hmm.
Right? Like, who doesn't want to see that? I would be down for that.
Maybe a new movie with Prince Lone Star and Barf.
Maybe. And then Sean says, I saw Star Wars in the theater when it came out. Yeah, what a great experience.
Yeah. I think it was 5.
Next week, we reach a crossroads, my friends, as we get the 13th,
Yep.
and final episode of season 1 of Ewoks. It is Asha. It's that family episode. Nisa features quite prominently in this one, which means we are back to where we were 13. Can you believe 13, 14? Because we've had a week off.
That's right.
We had a week
Yeah,
off.
we did
for
have a week
for
bye week.
Thanksgiving. 14 weeks ago, we set out to cover the first season of Ewoks. And at that time, we actually thought we may not even get through the whole season because of other stuff.
Yeah.
Agatha came out, and we all agreed that Agatha wasn't compelling enough to drop this.
Don't get me wrong, I
What
like
does
it.
that? I'm sort of liking it, but I'm sort of like, I talk about the fatigue. I'm feeling it with this one.
Yeah.
I am
haven't.
feeling it.
I might visit it later, but I haven't even attempted to it. Like the fatigue.
Ask me about it when it's over, like when the final episode rolls, because I think they're building towards something here.
Yes, they are.
I'm not sure when Daredevil's coming out, but I'm sort of just like
Next year.
I feel like waiting till Fantastic Four. like you know what I mean?
Like if you were doing that though, that would give you time to consume Agatha or whatever else is currently there.
That's true.
Like, which they should be giving people, like even in Netflix, like, oh, I'm going to put out a show a month later, cancel it. No,
Yeah.
give it time.
Well, I mean, we just got physicals for Ahsoka season 1 and Mando season 3, and
Yep.
do you think they might pull them?
I don't know, but that's kind of a scary thought.
I hope not.
But they did it with Wicket, right?
Oh,
Or,
they did. You mean Willow?
Yes,
Yeah,
Willow.
but there are no physicals. You can't buy physicals of Willow.
No.
They literally like tried to disavow knowledge.
Like it just never happened.
Yeah, which is
That's
what
true.
they're probably going to do with the Acolyte too. But
Well, they didn't waste any time axing Willow, and I feel like the Acolyte has simmered
some
enough.
time to
survived
breathe,
long
yeah.
enough.
It's simmered enough that you think they'd have made a decision by now.
There was no
Maybe-
Sex Pistols level backlash with Willow. It was just there literally was just like the crowd went meh.
It just
I didn't
didn't.
get to
It
finish
wasn't.
it, though.
It wasn't.
I didn't.
Willow.
You're right. I didn't get to finish it.
It didn't feel like.
And then I
Willow.
felt like am I part of the problem because I didn't watch it when
Binge
it
it
was coming
right.
out, like,
yeah,
and there's like I loved Christian Slater in it.
I watched all the episodes, and the things that I liked about it were the crazy uncle guy that went with them. I liked him, but then it didn't feel like Willow. Like
No.
Willow, the characterization of Willow. That's not Willow.
Mm.
Willow's not this like.
Yeah.
What, you telling me that for 40 years he's been afraid the whole time? Like, no.
Yeah.
I didn't buy into that. It was the same thing that they did to Luke Skywalker, and I didn't buy that either.
Yeah.
And honestly, the absence of Mad Mardigan hurt the show. And then trying the way that they soundtrack the movie, they tried to do the Knight's Tale thing with it by throwing a modern like rock soundtrack behind it.
Mhm, mhm.
Garbage. It just, no, that's not Willow.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
It was tough. It was tough. I got to go revisit the Dark Crystal stuff before.
Oh, it's good.
It's real good,
It's
and
good.
I also haven't finished that because of all the things we covered so deeply. I got to get to that, and then I have a bad problem with there are 1128 episodes of One Piece.
Right. Yeah.
I just realized there's more episodes. So I'm a big My Hero fan lately, and you guys know that.
Yeah. Of course.
159 episodes so far, one season to go. And there are more episodes in season 13 of One Piece than all 8 seasons, 7 seasons plus an 8th coming of My Hero Academia. There are 208 episodes in season 13 of One Piece.
Well, listen, talking about other things that we're both heavy into and passionate about, let me just point out here. All these rows up here all of that. Those top 2 rows, that is all. That's my Star Wars: The Black Series collection. Hank, you and I are both avid Black Series collectors. Andy, you are not necessarily a Black Series collector. Yes, you are a cherry picker. I have started working on our next series. And I've got look at the boxes. Oh my god. We had talked about doing some unboxing videos for quite some time, and for several reasons it just never came to fruition. And not because I didn't want to, but like my real life
Oh yeah.
trumped, like
We were both in some real life there, yeah, for sure.
I could not hold on to 100 boxes and dole those out in opening videos as much as I wanted to. I just had to get everything opened and put away.
Oh, it makes sense.
However, I thought, wouldn't it be nice? Now, the Black Series, we should have done this last year in 2023, because that would have been the 10-year anniversary. Star Wars The Black Series as an action figure line has been around since 2013.
Mhm.
And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to go back and revisit the line wave by wave and look at the figures in each wave and sort of talk about and reflect on them? Certainly, I have most of the original orange and blue waves,
I
if
only
not
have
all of them.
I only have the Han Solo and Stormtrooper gear. It's interesting.
So I think it'll be a fun exercise. We've always wanted to do more toy content, and we do have that time. We do have the time now between the end of Ewoks season 1, because I don't think we should jump into season 2 if we can't finish it.
No, I agree.
Knowing that Skeleton Crew, that's the goalpost. I mean, that's what we're running towards. I think we're all excited for that one. But we do, and I don't want to say fill time, but we do want to make sure that there is something for you guys to tune into and show up for week in and week out. And
if you've never seen us nerd out over toys, you ain't seen nothing yet.
So I do have the first. I started working on this earlier this week. I've pretty much got the first wave, the visuals done up. That's ready to go. When we go to do this, we'll be inviting some special guests from some of our friendly other YouTubers that like to talk toys with us.
Awesome.
There's an opportunity for you guys, if you're interested in Star Wars The Black Series, if you're a Black Series collector, or if you just like action figures in general. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Hit us up in our social media. Send us an email at fandompower3@gmail.com indicating your interest in being on the show, and let's work something out so we can talk toys.
Awesome.
We'll do that for a few weeks. All right, guys. Is there anything else you guys want to close on before we wrap it up?
I forgot it was an Ewok show. I thought we were random fandom. We've been talking for a while.
Back to the teak. Come on now.
That's right. The teak. The teak is coming back.
I just find the most obscure stuff when I just every morning Star Wars news, and there's something buried in the bylines all the time. I thought that one was pretty cool. But I figure, like, is that just like to distract us? Because do you really go to Endor and not visit the Ewoks?
The question is it confirmed they are going to Endor?
That's what the writer or director had said. I didn't send you the whole article. I was kind of trying to be light on spoilers, and also we got a grain of salt these things.
As always,
he did tweet about the teak. He called it the teak too, which we discussed.
The teak. When I saw the image, and I'm like, is that a new image? And I had to go back. No, that's an old image from the Ewok movie. I don't think that's new. I'm very curious.
Definitely an old image, yeah.
I'm curious to know how they're going to do it. Are they going to Basil him? Like, is he going to be a little dude in a suit?
It's
with some CG enhancements.
The article was it's full on puppeteering with CG enhancements. Full, like they said that it really took him back to a place. It was fun. And does that canonize Wilford Brimley finally?
We can only hope.
I mean, that's a long road to canonizing those movies, realistically.
Yeah.
But like I said it in the chat, do you visit Endor without
stopping by?
Right? Well, no, I agree with you. And like, is it coincidence that Marvel announced that this new series, like that they're going back with, like, there's always a synergy when it comes to Lucasfilm properties.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Everything is super connected.
Yeah. So
in the comic, apparently the Stormtroopers are going back to Endor. Right.
What is it, like we're going back to Nam for the POWs?
I guess.
For the MIAs?
Maybe.
They're all eaten.
We need your drums back. There are helmets. I'm sorry.
Yep. I mean, there is that story of whoever finds Vader's helmet, like,
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
could be that. We could get those ties.
Zazel, you're still here. Glad to see you. I'm going to be calling on you very soon to guest on the show as we revisit Star Wars: The Black Series, wave by wave. It might look familiar to you.
I have a shelf of Princess
Should be fun.
Leia's that I'll need to get on. Like looking at four in a row.
I wish I had grabbed a second Yavin ceremony. Leia.
Do we have a sense that these are going to be live like this, or are they going to be?
Oh, I don't see why we wouldn't do it this
perfect.
way.
That way I think maybe I'll reserve, like, I'll unbox as we go.
Oh, sure. Why not? If you've got it,
Yeah.
it'll definitely. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Wicked.
I will
wait.
I will get some details for you sooner than later. That means even if we have to do it as a pre-record and then run the pre-record as a live on Sunday night, I'm down for that. Oh, sorry. The guys are talking to each other in the chat, and I'm just like, let's show all the comments. Here we go. Don't need to show all that stuff. All right. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
No, that's me, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, as always, this has been a ton of fun. Love hanging out with these two guys, them, and love hanging out with all of you. Look forward. Them. Looking forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday night when Andy and I will be back. It's the 82nd edition of Random Fandom, and it seems like the never-ending toy news is delivering again this week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah,
wow.
we got some good announcements.
It feels like New York Comic Con's been going on for like 2 weeks.
That's right. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course, we'll be back next week with the final episode of season 1 of the 1985 Ewoks animated series. I can't believe we've done the whole season.
We did it. We said we would do it, and we did it.
Yeah. I'm very proud of us for doing that, by the way.
It was a lot of fun. It was like, I didn't think it wouldn't be fun, but it was definitely more fun than I kind of thought it would be.
It is our longest review series to date. At 13 episodes.
None of them were 16. There was a couple 16 episodes.
Oh, was there?
The Bad Batch went through.
Oh, the Bad Batch. You're right. Sorry.
3 seasons of 16.
You are correct. You are correct.
2 seasons of Mando.
I guess I didn't think of the individual, the collectively as being the same show, but you are right.
Yeah.
You are right in that. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah. Can't forget the Bad Batch.
No. Who would want to? I'm sad we didn't get another season, to be honest. Thank you so much, Zazel. I appreciate that.
Mando and Grogu.
Josh, always enjoy our conversations. Nice to have
man.
you along
Cheers,
for the
boys.
ride. Yeah, we'd still be having these conversations, but it's always nicer to share.
But our
them.
thumbs would be super sore.
That's right. Be like, screw this. I'm calling. I'm using the phone. I'm old enough to remember how to do this.
These are still phones.
That's right. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Tuesday. If not Tuesday, next Sunday for the last episode of the season. But as always, my friends, until then, whatever your thing is, remember, fan on. And for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
And we will see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.
Manamachu. Goopa loopa. Gunda. Yep, yep. Manatutu. Goba Fringawa. Goopa loopa. Koto Ostoga.